There's a man who's coming across, well, there's a reference to the individual who had the fluid in the lungs that filled up, and they're acknowledging that it feels as though I'm having difficulty breathing because there was the fluid in the lungs.
Okay.
They were relieved by their passing because it's like, thank God I don't have to go through this anymore. But there was an incident with a breathing tube, and that's the significance there. Because also the difficulty wasn't...
Oh my God.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so what was that?
My grandfather.
Okay, grandfather.
He had to have a breathing tube, and my dad tried to convince him to keep it in. He kept trying to take it out and take it out.
Right.
He kept trying to take it out. He had lung cancer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And that's what's coming through. He does come through quite strongly.
Okay.
And he is perfectly fine, but he very much so did not want to be kept alive artificially. And then he referenced the fact that he did pass peacefully. He needed to pass. It was important.
Okay.
And he was okay with where he passed away.
Okay.
So that's
nice.
the big thing, definitely.
He couldn't have known about my grandfather always trying to pull out his breathing tube. And I was close to him. He died when I was 15, so for him to show up was genuine, you know? And that's what I was looking for.
I have a woman coming through who's acknowledging that she feels she passed too soon. She's referencing to an eating issue or an eating difficulty. So it's like a long-term thing in the way this comes across. I feel like my body's like not rejecting, like it's rejecting food, it's not wanting, it's weird. Do you know any women that have passed that have dealt with an eating disorder or would have an eating disorder connection?
Yes, I do.
But she for sure suffered an eating disorder when she's coming through. What's interesting is that she feels she's deceased. She's referencing to a living person, and then she's showing pride about someone overcoming anorexia.
Yes.
So that's kind of the connection. She's making the link of like, I had an eating disorder, and I had a serious issue with this, and this was a problem. But then there's the living person who had this, and then I guess doesn't have it anymore. I don't know why this is coming across, but then there's a pride for that of like, I'm proud of you for doing that, for getting through that, because it's like, this is a personal struggle that she herself experienced.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so. So I had a battle with an eating disorder.
Wow.
Okay. I almost died of anorexia. And so that's the eating disorder that you're seeing.
Right.
And that's the eating disorder you were seeing in my life. And you're referencing the girl who passed.
Yes.
And being proud of me.
Yes.
I met her when I was just on the edge of recovering, but I was still in it. So I really connected to her. And I came, and I talked to her, and I remember her crying to me and saying, I want to help people. I want to write a book. I want to be this. And I had this really stern message to her. I said, you can't do anything unless you help yourself. And she said, how? I don't know how. Her name was Rudine. And she was somebody who died of anorexia eventually at 27. So her death impacted me a lot. Was very important to me.
I'm so sorry. But she's definitely fine and,
Okay.
and very supportive and very happy for you that you were able to overcome such a huge thing. Thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah. Good, good, good. I have another energy that's coming through that I have to talk about. When I have really sensitive information coming through, I generally have to figure out how to navigate it. I have to be sensitive to my clients' feelings, and sometimes that puts me in a position where it's hard to deliver. It's popping in.
Okay.
There's a child that's coming through as well, and this is what's confusing me. This is a female child. She's referencing to the fact that her passing was abrupt and immediate. She's acknowledging that she was not conscious at the time that she passed away, and that's the significance that she's bringing forward. She's sweet, she's beautiful, she's lovely, but she was not conscious when she died. And that is something for her that was a relief because she wasn't aware of her passing. She's referencing, this isn't family. This isn't family. This does not feel like family. So I'm not, whereas I am gonna connect to family, this isn't family, this is separate. This is a child that unfortunately passed. This is the weirdest thing. There's just a reference Joseph. Oh, like I'm getting actually kind of uncomfortable. Okay. This is the weirdest thing. She was shot.
Oh, I do know. I do know.
Okay, who would this be? Because Joseph did this. Joseph did this.
I don't know his name, but it could be very well his name. It's a little girl who was around 10 years old who was shot, and then we put her funeral together.
Was there a eulogy? Did more than one person do a eulogy?
I did the eulogy.
Do you have a sister?
My sister did the eulogy.
Okay, that's the connection.
Wow. Oh my God, I got goosebumps. Whoa.
I'm like really, really,
oh my God. Wow.
Being a medium, I've connected to children before. It's always one of the hardest things for me to connect to for obvious reasons, but this was just the absolute hardest and incredibly difficult to have to see. I kept hearing a gunshot in the background. It was very overwhelming for me.
She's coming through and she's acknowledging that she's with her mother, okay?
Yeah.
She's not upset at her mother because she's acknowledging the fact that her mother knew about the father, but that they had different plans. It's like, I want to get out of the situation, I want to get out of the situation. Do you know what happened to her mother?
She was shot.
Also?
Yes.
Was someone lit on fire?
The house was burned, yeah.
God, I'm sorry. It's like this has never happened before with this extent of a reading. So with the little girl that's coming through, she's coming through pretty clearly, and I'm actually curious to see what your connection is. What's the connection with her?
So I did a show
Right.
in the 80s, early 90s, called Growing Pains. And there was a little girl who played my character as a little girl.
Okay.
And she was a little child actress that we knew. And my dad is an agent, and he was her agent. And so she was in our life quite a bit around that time. And the father murdered her, and her mother shot them, and then set the house on fire. And then my family, because she had no family, buried her and her mother and paid for the funeral. And my sister did the eulogy, so you mentioned that.
Right. I would be curious to see if there's a Joseph connection on that side.
I would not be surprised if her father's name was Joseph. It sounds familiar. Why would she come through and some people that are super close to me not come through?
The reason why she came through really strongly was, in a big part, I feel a big sense of appreciation about the funeral, about the eulogy. Because with that situation, you know, it was pretty much just them. And that was an appreciation.
Okay.
So that would be why.
It definitely did seem like she was trying to say thank you and was appreciative. And to have people that weren't even related to me to come in was a very nice thing. That was something that really stuck with me.
We've had varying degrees of strength with people. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's amazing. You said some things today that, like you couldn't have known.
Right. And you did introduce yourself when you walked in, so I don't even know your first name. This would be a good time to ask. What is it?
My name is Tracey.
Tracey. Awesome. It's great to meet you, Tracey.
Nice to meet
Thank you so much.
Tyler. Oh my goodness, wow.
This has been amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think what this reading really showed was that if a person wants to come through, they'll find a way to do it one way or another.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh.
And in this case, because she had known so many people that had passed so traumatically and didn't really have resolve to their passing, that's why they came through so strongly, because that was something that they needed in order to transition and move on fully.
Randy, come sit down and... Okay, so what did you think was the interesting stuff?
I mean, the whole thing. It was the whole thing. I couldn't
trying to
believe.
process it all.
I couldn't believe the first how on the nose. I immediately knew it was Judith Barcy.
Did you?
Immediately.
I didn't get it immediately.
Well, no. When he said a kid, I was like
kid,
a child. But then when
I'm just
he
trying to think of a
connected
child.
the woman and the fire and
Joseph
confirmed.
There it was.
Joseph with a Z. I was like, oh my God, this
I
is
know.
like crazy.
I know.